Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the free DecisionPoint trading room. I am Erin Swenlin. I am here with my father, Carl Swenlin from DecisionPoint.com, and we're going to show you the charts we think you need to see moving into the week. We'll be covering the sectors. We'll see if we can't get a few symbols out there for you, and then we will be taking your symbol requests. If you want to have your symbol looked at, just put it in the Q&A box and that will give us the heads up. The chat room is for you to go in and chat amongst yourselves. Just be sure that when you go into the room that you use the drop-down menu to send your comment to everyone. Otherwise, it just goes to us and we don't monitor the chat box at all. I think that's about it for our housekeeping. Oh, we will not have a DecisionPoint trading room for the next 2 weeks due to the holidays. We're not going to be here Christmas Day, and we won't be here on New Year's Day. So we will see you on January 8th when we pick the trading room back up. So this is the last one for a couple weeks now. So let's get it going and make sure we have plenty of great information in it, Dad. Let's hit it.
Okie doke. Let's start out with our signal scoreboard. We have the intermediate term trend model and the long-term trend model. The intermediate term buy means the 20-day moving average is above the 50-day moving average, and the long-term buy is the 50-day moving average is above the 200-day moving average. That would be a silver cross and a golden cross. Right now, we've got buy signals on everything we watch except for energy. And we'll take a look at energy in a little later here. And then long term, we've still got some sell signals showing. They take a little longer, and maybe this is as good as it's going to get. But it's looking pretty good. It's one thing to remember, when things get as good as they can get, then they start getting worse. With the amount of time it takes to top in that regard, it can vary. So, okay, let's try a new share, and we'll go to here's the energy sector chart. You can see it's looking very good. We've got the 50 EMA is above the 200, so that's not a problem. And with the price being above the 50 and 200 and the 20, all those moving averages are moving higher. So we are perhaps done with this correction in energy. Let's go to the S&P 500. It's making a new high today. I'm sorry, the SPY. This would be the SPY. It's making a new all-time high today. This is our climax chart. We track technical climaxes in the upside and the downside. Last week, we had an upside initiation climax, which resulted in 1 day higher. And then following that was a downside initiation climax. And today we're higher. So what we're in here, I think, is a year-end pause and bearish influence. And we could say we're in a bull market. And in a bull market, overbought and oversold conditions are not that serious. Let's look at the short-term Swenlin trading oscillator for breadth and volume, and the intermediate term breadth momentum and volume momentum indicators. They're all oversold. I'm sorry, overbought. Overbought in a bull market, it doesn't necessarily mean we're going to get a correction. You can get a pause, or it can keep going on. Here, we can see where the ITBM and ITVM topped about 2 weeks ago, and didn't matter. We got a little bitty blip downward and another surge higher. So while you look at this and you got to say, well, we're overbought, so be cautious. Okay, here we have the weekly chart of the SPY, and you can see it's in new all-time high territory. Here we have the Silver Cross Index and Golden Cross Index for the S&P 500. The Silver Cross is overbought, and at 83, that's near the top of its normal range. And the Golden Cross Index, this is, by the way, these are the percentage of stocks with the 20 EMA above the 50 EMA that are on Silver Cross buy signals. Golden Cross is 50 EMA above the 200 EMA, which is a Golden Cross buy signal. And right now, if we look at the components of the Golden Cross Index, we have 86% above the 50, but only 78% above the 200. So that's the limiting factor. We could go up to about 77 on the Golden Cross Index. For the Silver Cross, we have 83 and 86 on those components. So roughly with the Silver Cross at 83%, now we're pretty much pushing the limit of what it can do based on the percent of stocks above the 20 and 50. If we look at the S&P 500, it has not made a new all-time high yet. Let's look quickly at it. Okay, it's still waiting to exceed the 2022 high. The S&P 500, the Dow, none of these major indexes that everybody focuses on, none of them are adjusted for dividends. And it's makes it so it's not like, say, SPY, which is adjusted for dividends, and it basically is a total return for the index. When you look at an adjusted index, it includes the amount of points that it's moved higher, and also includes the dividend distributions. Now let's look at the S&P 500 Total Return Index. This is adjusted for dividends. It's too bad that we don't use this, that the news media doesn't use this, but this is there if you wanted to use it. We have, that I was able to locate, we have total return for the utility average, that's $DJUTR, the transportation average, $DJTTR, and the Dow Jones Industrial Average, which is $DJITR. Okay, enough of that. Looking at the dollar index, it's been drifting downward, which has been beneficial to gold. And let's go over to gold. It has been, we had a really nice advance, about a 2% advance last week on one day. And right now it's drifting downward like in a bullish flag formation. Let's look at the longer term. I want to go to, okay, the weekly. We're still waiting for the GLD to exceed its all-time high, which was back here in 2020. USO is starting to bottom. Maybe we're finally going to drag energy out of the doldrums. It's been since September top that we've been doing lousy in terms of performance in crude. Today we're up over 2%. Let's take a look at the weekly on that.
Recovering.
Hmm?
It's recovering somewhat.
Right. Well, here we have West Texas Intermediate crude, and it's at, as of Friday, it's at 71.78. So it's recovered from that 2020 low, the COVID crash, and basically we've got a lower top, and we may be going to trend downward, maybe not as rough as this 2020 drop. Bonds had a substantial decline. Here we've got a falling wedge formation, and bonds have broken out from that. That's TLT, which is the 20-plus year Treasury bond. This is the chart we need to keep an eye on, even though it's a 40-year chart and monthly. You notice that as of Friday, we have a breakout above the top of the falling wedge. So I'm expecting to see a rally in bonds for some months. I think this will last, but I think it's limited by overhead resistance, and it'll be a temporary thing. Everybody's going to think we're back to the good old days, and we're not. That's my opinion. Bitcoin, not well. It's been rallying very nicely, but for the last few weeks, it's been consolidating. Let's look at the longer term chart. You can see the all-time high over here, so it's heading back in that direction. Looking at the Magnificent Seven, Apple just made an all-time high. I think Apple is going to be running into difficulty for some time because of the turbulence in their China operations. Amazon rallying nicely today in a rising trend. Google consolidating at the very least, but having a good day today for sure. Meta platforms making a new all-time high. I think that is. Let me verify that. No, sorry, but head in that direction. Microsoft has got a top beneath a top, and it's also got a bottom above a bottom. So basically like a triangle formation here, possibly going to break down out of that triangle formation. PE is very high, so it's due for some give back. NVDA hitting resistance right at this, just slightly above 500. We'll see what's going to happen with that, but basically now it's been consolidating for about 5 or 6 months. Tesla breaking out of the declining trend channel, and that will do it for that. Anything that I have forgotten, Erin?
Gold miners.
Okay, gold miners.
They're looking pretty interesting with that big rally in gold and then another drop. It's chart's looking pretty interesting to me.
We're looking at for gold miners. We've got the 50 EMA coming up to the 200 EMA. So we're looking for a golden cross buy signal, probably in the next couple of days, as long as we don't get any more pullbacks. But as long as price stays above an exponential moving average, the moving average will move up. So we don't have any simple moving average problems there. How about our under the hood? We've got pretty strong, particularly in the 20 and the 50 EMA stocks above those moving averages. 200 EMA needs some improvement. And let's see if we have any questions that I need to address before you take it.
Let's see here. Symbol requests. Given the market is pricing in rate cuts and the yield curve is still inverted, what is your outlook for the markets in 2024? It's a pretty big question.
Yeah, let me get to, let's see, I want to look at the yield array chart, which gives us the best
Yes.
view there. Okay, here's the yield array chart, and let's go to a 3-year chart. All right, you see all the wonderful things that have happened since 3 years ago, and basically it looks to be topping out. But this looks like a very good level of support. We have resistance here, and now it's been acted as support. We've got to have some loss in yield to make up for the fact that people's ideas are shifting about when some people are already thinking we're going to have 6 rate cuts next year. Some are saying only 3. We'll see about that. But so that needs to settle out. And I think this might represent a very good area of support. Notice that the shorter durations, the 1 month, 3 month, 6 month, they're holding up fairly well. They haven't lost that much. The longer durations are falling down, and that's got the yield, the yield inversion chart back to a pretty strong inversion, because the longer durations are dropping so much more than the near durations. Okay, did I answer that question?
So what is your outlook for the markets in 2024?
For the market?
Yep.
Right now, let me just concentrate on the rest of the month.
Yes.
I think for this month, the market is acting very bullish, and I think we're going to advance into the end of the year. And then I think we're going to see a pullback starting the first part of January. And beyond that, we'll have to see how it's going to be reacting. But the market's very overvalued, and it really needs to be pulling back. But that's what I'm looking for.
Mm-hmm. All right. The other is, Carl, what is a good PE to consider for a stock purchase?
Boy, that's generally speaking, a PE of 20 is overvalued, and a PE of 10 is undervalued. So 10 is good, but that is such a general statement that it really applies to different. It applies differently to different stocks, and some stocks traditionally hold a very high PE, and some hold a low PE and don't benefit from that. They don't attract people. So I'm sorry, that's the best I can give you there. We have another question on, should we get out of UNG? Let's just look at that. I'm still considering whether I'm going to take a loss for taxes and get in earlier next year. But right now, it looks like if you wanted to take a loss, it's really in a good area, I think, and I don't think it's going to get any lower than that. But then I didn't think it was going to get any lower than this.
Right.
So yeah, so right now I still look at it as an option that doesn't expire. So there's a potential for a lot of gain on it, but I don't know what's going on in the energy sector. And I think when it takes off, I think UNG is going to take off as well.
Mm-hmm. All right. How often do you update your charts with annotations?
I go through them every day. So the collection of charts that our subscribers view, that's the ones I maintain. I look at them every day. That doesn't mean um, they're absolutely up to date, that I see everything all the time and fix it. But that's essentially, I review them every day and make the adjustments that I think are necessary.
Right. So if you like Carl's charts here in the trading room with the annotations, all of these charts, I believe all of them that you've shown are in our chart lists on our website for subscribers of any of our reports to get a hand on. So I should show people where that is when you're done.
Okay, well, unless you think there's something else I need to cover, yes, I think I've covered what I need to.
I think so. Let's go ahead and share. Okay, so I want to show the sectors. Okay, I just realized now my screen is not the right size, so let me fix that so everybody can see properly here. I go through all of my steps and then I forget one, and there you go. Okay, this will be better. All right, so let's take a peek at the sectors. We already did dive into energy, but I think I'm going to still go back to that chart because really when I look at all of the sectors, the newest momentum is arriving in energy. All of the rest pretty much are running on on buy signals they've had. I do notice the utilities, the PMO is trying to top over here. And comm services, we are getting a nice breakout here. We'll want to look under the hood at comm services. You can see that PMO turning up and giving us a brand new buy signal. So we've got new PMO buy signal here, new PMO buy signal here. Technology kind of surged here. It did go, I think, below the signal line briefly, but whipsawed back into a buy signal. It looks pretty strong, but it looks particularly overbought too, as far as the sectors go. But I would say if you're looking for strength right now, those are three areas of interest because of the way the PMO is configured. It did dip. We had a pretty decent pause. And now we're making our way back out and breaking out on a lot of these sector charts. But let's go ahead and I want to dive in a little bit more closely to those three sectors we just talked about. Let me get to the right list here. So comm services. So with comm services, like I said, we are getting that breakout, which I like. RSI positive. Under the hood, you can see we have really good participation here. All of them, all of these readings are above 50%, which is good. That generally tells you you have a bullish bias in the shorter term. We also have room for improvement. Now, these are overbought readings technically, but really when you look at it, we still have a lot of upside that could be accomplished here. And you're going to see, based on what we're going to look at under the hood at communication services and technology, their percentages are much higher. So I like the fact that there is room for some expansion here on comm services, whereas we're not seeing that so much in technology and some of the other sectors. You can also see on comm services, we're starting to get that move on relative strength, starting to show some extra relative strength, maybe with retail doing well so far. And notice that breakout on Amazon. This is probably helping comm services along right now. Technology is very overbought. Here are the different numbers on technology sector. So now we've got above 50% again, which is good. But we're now in the 90s here as far as participation of stocks above their 20 and 50. That's really high numbers. That's very overbought. And as Carl said earlier in the program, when things get as good as they, about as good as they're going to get, then you're going to see what could happen next is you're going to start to lose ground. But right now, we do have a lot of internal strength. Look at how long comm services has been able to hold on to these overbought readings. So it's not out of the question that we could still see prices move higher. And I am in agreement with Carl that we're going to probably see prices continue to rise through the end of the year. January will probably be our month of reckoning. Let's look at energy. We talked about energy a little bit, and I wanted to show you under the hood. So we did get a bit of a pullback on Friday, so we did lose a little bit of participation. We don't have readings completely above 50% on these participation indicators. In particular, the price of stocks, the percent of stocks above their 50-day EMA is only 34%. And we need to see much better readings to get this Silver Cross Index to continue to expand. But these are great readings on a sector that has really been beat down and hurt quite a bit. And this breakout right now, this looks like a breakaway gap right here. And this looks like a continuation gap. I'm not so worried that this will be a reverse island formation. I think we're going to continue to see prices move higher from this level. So that brings us to industry groups. And I think it's worth our while to look at some of those industry groups within those three sectors that we talked about. And you can get to the industry summary right here from the dashboard. Here's comm services. Like I said, I think broad market, I think that the broadcasting entertainment is showing a lot of strength right now. Media agencies certainly looking good. You're going to notice that fixed line telecom, we do have a PMO cell signal, so that's an area within comm services you might want to avoid. Internet looking pretty good, but at overhead resistance. It'll be interesting to see what happens given that PMO buy signal that is coming to fruition right now. Publishing backing off a little bit after a breakout, and mobile telecom not looking so strong. So I would say fixed line telecom, mobile telecom, maybe not the places you want to be looking at in the comm services area. Discretionary, like I said, I think that retail is probably carrying this. Amazon in particular, a broadline retailer, you can see really pushing this particular industry group much higher. We're seeing some outperformance now coming in on this group. Looks very strong, one of those winners that should keep on winning. Apparel retailers now finding a little bit of trouble here, moving back down. Specialty retailers, retail is really the area I would be interested in discretionary right now. Specialty retailers looking pretty good. And I know restaurants and bars are starting to pull back a little bit here. PMO not looking quite so positive. Let's go down into energy real quick, and then we will get to your symbol requests. Oil equipment and services looking nice on a move higher, breaking out above the 200-day EMA, still stuck beneath the 50. Really nice breakout here on integrated oil and gas. This particular sector looked especially good, I thought, on Friday. Exploration and production also doing well. This all related to crude oil, which is starting to rally right now. This does look like a really good reversal for energy. Pipelines also moving upward. Very nice configuration with the 20, 50, and 200-day EMAs all configured properly. You want the fastest moving EMA on top, the slowest on the bottom. That's exactly what we have here. Coal not looking so hot though right now, with the PMO moving downward. So I'd be very careful with any positions in coal. At this point, it seems like integrated oil and gas is one of the places, and oil equipment and services. All of these crude related areas and energy look particularly good moving forward. All right, that pretty much covers that. I will now open it up to our symbol requests. So let's go ahead and get started on those. I will talk to you a little bit about the chart. The first chart's going to get the best review because I'm going to tell you what all the indicators are on my charts.
Okay, PHG.
Got it. All right, electronic equipment and technology. So here's what I put on my chart. I've got the RSI on top, the price momentum oscillator, which we think is the best momentum indicator. On the next pane, we have on balance volume to give us that volume component, stochastics, which give us that internal strength component. You've got the industry group compared to the SPY relative strength. So this tells us if the group is doing well. And right now, this group is starting to outperform. And then we compare the stock to the S&P and the stock to its industry group. So right now, it is an outperformer within the group. It's outperforming its group and it's outperforming the SPY consequently. So all of that is good on this chart. The only thing I would be a little concerned about is that RSI is getting a bit overbought, but I like the breakout here. We do have some upside potential before we hit overhead resistance. It's pretty close though. Overhead resistance is going to be with us in about 3.5% to the upside. So that might be the area you might see a little bit more consolidation before a possible breakout. And I say a possible breakout, we have the PMO turning up above the zero line on a buy signal. It certainly looks positive. Let's go ahead and look at the weekly chart. Really nice weekly chart. You've got a weekly PMO that is on a crossover buy signal currently. That signal would go final on Friday. So this is in the making, in the works. Scooter, StockCharts technical rank moving upward. I like the look of that. Not quite in the hot zone above 70. The StockCharts technical rank really gives you an idea of what the stock is doing trend and condition wise in the intermediate and long term primarily. So these the different parts to the StockCharts technical rank were developed by John Murphy. So I find it to be a really helpful indicator to see what's happening in the intermediate to long terms. And so we're seeing some great improvement under the surface here, not quite in that hot zone. So it's not all the way in that outperformance range, but certainly headed in the right direction. It just looks like overhead resistance could be a little bit of an issue here, maybe a bit of a pause, but overall with these indicators looking so good, I have to like the stock.
Erin,
And yes,
could you go back to that weekly?
absolutely.
What we have here is a reverse flag, which did break down, and now it's recovering from that. So that could be a positive in terms of recovering from that breakdown. But
Yes,
it is a reverse flag. So
right. There it is.
yeah,
Big flagpole. So hopefully we're going to get out of this. Everything looks pretty good on the chart. I'm thinking we will be okay.
yeah.
The 5-minute candlestick, this is where we go for our entries and exits. On it, I have the 5-minute RSI, the 5-minute PMO, and then the 5-minute on balance volume. What we're looking for on this chart for an entry is the PMO to be on a crossover with a positive RSI. So in this case, we got the PMO to crossover, but we have to keep moving along until we get the positive RSI, which is right here. So that would have been your last buy point, would have been a really nice buy point for sure. At this point, I don't know you're going to get a much better buy point. The PMO is in decline right now, so it might be worth waiting for to see if price will pull back a little bit to give you a better entry. But a nice positive RSI has been sticking around here, so there's a lot of price strength. I'm not so sure you're going to get a better buy point than where you're at now, but it might be worth waiting for.
DNLI.
US, let's see, Denali Therapeutics, DNLY, hit the 200-day EMA and turned right back down. We do have a silver cross coming on tap here. You can see the 20 is about ready to cross above the 50. So that would be a good sign, give it a little bit more of a bullish bias in the intermediate term. PMO's back above zero and rising. It's having a bad day, so the RSI is being pulled lower. And stochastics did top. This does look a little bit like a stock ready for more pullback, just to digest a really strong rally here, but that should be okay. This could be a flagpole, and we could be developing a flag on the end of it. But I'd be a little bit careful just because I'm noticing relative strength starting to pull back a little bit, and the fact stochastics topped. I don't know that I'd be making the entry here, but I think it is kind of an interesting one after this big move, and now it's giving that pullback, which would be a really nice entry. Weekly.
Okay.
PMO buy signal on the weekly chart, the weekly PMO. Still, StockCharts technical rank is still kind of in the basement. So this is one, again, that maybe you have to think about in the shorter term rather than the intermediate term. And notice that price, it did hit the 43-week EMA in this case and did get turned away. So I like the setup for the chart. I think that it is pretty good, but it also looks like it's experiencing some near-term weakness right now. If you are interested in it, the aggressive buy point has arrived because we do have that PMO crossover. We just don't have a positive RSI yet to give us that conservative buy point, but it's certainly something you could consider if you're more aggressive in your entry. I never talked about sell points. Sell points arrive when the 5-minute PMO turns over. You don't need to wait for the negative crossover. You can just go on and get yourself out at the first turn of that PMO. When I come to a 5-minute chart and I'm ready to sell, I just need a good excuse. I don't want to be selling when the PMO looks like this, but I do want to sell when the PMO starts to turn, especially when it looks like this after a big rise. That was a really good notification of a good sell point.
EK.
I like the rally here. Marine transport. We've got the RSI in positive territory, not overbought. Look at that PMO turning up just above the zero line there, which is a very good sign. Stochastics rising, they're in positive territory, and we can see relative strength is improving on all three for the group and for the stock. So I like the setup for relative strength. This looks like a good one. Let's go ahead and look at that weekly chart. What do you see here?
Rounded bottom.
There we go. The PMO doesn't look so hot, so I would keep this, while I think the daily chart looks pretty good, I would still keep this in a short-term time frame and keep an eye on it, just because we don't have the weekly chart totally gelling here. We do have a positive RSI. We do have volume that's confirming this rally, and the StockCharts technical rank is almost above 70, but that PMO is still in decline, so that would keep me in the shorter, in the shorter term on this one. 5-minute chart, not much going on here. I would say your buy point is not here. You can still look, and that PMO is in decline. You might be able to do better than that. Maybe down here at this support level would be a good entry.
Could you go back to that previous chart?
There we go.
Okay, I want you to notice that the PMOs, weekly PMOs started dropping earlier this year, but price continued higher. So when the PMO is moving down above the zero line, it can be a diminishing strength, or it can mean a weakness. It's probably a mix in the two, but in this case, it's diminishing strength because the price is still moving. So you have to be careful about what you do with topping PMOs above the zero. And using a stop is probably the best way to go.
Yeah, I like that.
Okay.
Lumen.
ILMN.
Yep, Illumina, I think, ILMN. Illumina. Illumina, okay. Biotechnology stock. Like the rounded bottom here coming off of the decline, that does look pretty good. Could be a reverse flag though, so we have to be aware of that. But ultimately, I like the silver cross that's about ready to come in. I like this rally. PMO's now back above 0. Stochastics are oscillating above 80. Relative strength lines are moving higher. This has all of the ingredients that I like on a chart. The weekly, I like the way the weekly chart's shaping up here too. We've got an oversold PMO buy signal, looks like coming in on this one, but I would hesitate and tell you we had a PMO buy signal back here, but price didn't really do much. So we need to keep that in mind.
This is an example of, okay, you get a PMO bottom back mid to 2022. So this is a case where you have diminishing weakness, but not strength moving in. So remember, everything being equal, the PMO will move to the 0 line. That's where it's the natural place is. And when things come out of balance, when strength moves in, it moves higher above the 0 line. And when strength, when weakness moves in, it moves below the 0 line. But again, this is a case where it wasn't any strength moving in. It was just, it took a pause. The price went sideways, and in which case the PMO naturally moved right back to the 0 line.
All right, excellent.
AMD, time to take profits.
Time to take profits. Not a bad idea. Not a bad idea. I don't know that you're not going to see higher prices continue here because it could be forming kind of a flag, but the flag is kind of sideways. This looks kind of toppy to me. PMO is starting to lose a little bit of juice here. Stochastics are still above 80, but I can see some weakness seeping in here a little bit. PMO is still rising though above the 0 line. So we have to think that we've still got some strength here. RSI is very overbought. So at this point, I do see at least some pause, at least some sideways action that is possible here just to bring that RSI down. But there's still internal strength based on the stochastics being above 80. So I think you're still going to be okay here, but you know, taking some of those profits, maybe shaving the position wouldn't be a horrible idea, but that's dependent on your risk profile.
ALT.
Oh, I was going to look quickly at the weekly chart, and the weekly chart looks pretty good here.
ALT.
Kind of a weird looking chart. Let me make this log scale just so we can get a little bit better. Really nice rally here. This is kind of one of those stocks. I kind of call them a boom or a bust. There's a lot of downside risk. Not only is it a low price stock, but you can see that it's all over the map here. This is not my style of investment. Technically, though, the technicals, we do have a bounce off the 200-day EMA. It looks like a pretty good rally coming in here. That RSI is awfully overbought, and this one doesn't tend to like overbought conditions. You can see a top there, a top there, a top there. So we got a top here on overbought conditions. So I'm looking for, I would be concerned about a pullback coming up here. On this one, but I'm not going to go much further into it. It's not my style of investment.
Pfizer.
Not like in the PMO. RSI is moving upward. We were talking about pure strength, pure weakness, just based on the PMO. We have a PMO that's 3 times, 4 times, 5 times topped beneath the 0 line. This is a stock that is in decline. There's tons of weakness going on here. Yes, we're getting a rally here. And we could still see that rally move higher. The stochastics have turned up, but relative strength is down. There's nothing attractive to me about this stock right now. Weekly chart, yeah, pretty ugly. Scooter about as low as it can possibly be. I know you're looking at a reversal candidate here, but I don't think it's really a strong reversal candidate at this point.
HLX.
All right. Nice breakout from a declining trend. PMO rising, showing some new strength. Stochastics are above 80, so we've got internal strength. Really nice outperformance against this group, and so consequently, we're getting some good outperformance against the S&P. I like this one. It's an oil equipment and services. We're seeing some movement going on there. The weekly chart still needs some time to gel. It's been in that big decline, and so obviously the PMO has been in decline itself, but we are seeing some deceleration. Scooter above into the hot zone, RSI positive. I like the look of this one moving forward. 5-minute chart, we're not at a buy point. In fact, we probably could wait around to get a little bit better buy point. Kind of flat top here, rising bottoms. So I would expect the breakout to happen here. If it's going to hold this rising trend, I don't think you're going to get a much better buy point than what we're at right now.
Okay, should I get out of USO? We covered it earlier. Let's just take another look.
Yes.
If the last thing I remember is that we're close to a golden cross buy signal in USO. I'm sorry, not a golden cross buy signal.
Yeah, no, we did just get that death cross.
Yeah.
But this does look like a pretty good reversal point. You've got a double bottom right here. You've got a PMO that's on a buy signal right now. So we're going to get a new PMO buy signal today. I think we're at a pretty good reversal point. I think we are going to see some follow through for USO at this point. I was thinking we might have to go back down to that $60 range before we get the reversal, but this is looking pretty encouraging right now.
Okay, TLT.
We definitely covered TLT. So I would recommend, BB, that you go, it's this video, you should be able to rewind it and go back to the beginning to see that.
Bonds are rallying, so that's the outlook on bonds right now.
Yeah, they look good.
WM.
Waste and disposal and industrial, RSI positive. This PMO is really wonky right now, kind of jittery back and forth. Relative strength is fine. Stochastics, though, have topped. I'm not really a fan of this chart, but I mean, as far as an entry, I think it's a hold because it's holding that 20-day EMA as support. So I see higher prices likely, but the PMO is acting really weird. So it wouldn't be an entry point for me on this one.
Actually, that PMO is not bad at this point.
Okay.
It's moving sideways above the zero line, so it's showing steady strength, and the price is rising. So, but watch it. If it tops out with any emphasis, that would probably be the time to step aside.
Yeah, that's the hard part, is figuring out if it's truly topping when it's so jittery. But we do have that PMO bottom above the signal line. So not a bad chart, not a bad chart. Definitely a hold. It's kind of extended, so I don't know that I'd be that interested in an entry. Weekly chart, we do see a breakout on this one, and the PMO is rising on the weekly chart. So, maybe I misspoke. It's a nice looking breakout.
UNP.
Yeah, no buy point here on WM, just double checking.
Okay.
All right, Union Pacific. Let me get the inspect tool here. So we have a breakout above this area of overhead resistance. This looks like kind of a nice base here to get higher prices on that cup shape. PMO rising strongly. It is on the overbought side, which is, a bit of a problem here. RSI is also very overbought. So this wouldn't be something I would be entering right now because it is so overbought. But if I owned it, I'd be pretty happy with it and I'd be holding it based on that PMO. And the weekly, there's that breakout, looks pretty solid. PMO is rising nicely here on UNP. And upside potential is pretty good here, about 10% before it hits overhead resistance.
AIQ.
Okay, the Global Artificial Intelligence and Technology ETF. Not familiar with this ETF, but I like the idea behind it. We've got a breakout. Looks like the technology sector where we had the pause and then the breakout. RSI's, it's very overbought though. RSI is overbought, but it has been for quite some time, so it can endure overbought conditions. PMO did surge above the signal line, which I like seeing. Stochastics are above 80. This one, the only issue I have with it is that it is overbought right now. And that's going to be a problem, I have to say, across the board. So the reversal candidates, the ones we've seen today, have been a little too beat down for my taste. We do have a lot of these winners that should keep on winning, but they are overbought. So entry is really tough right now on these. This has got a nice cup with handle and breaking out. So we should see higher prices. The PMO is on a buy signal above the zero line after bottoming above it. This looks like a pretty strong stock in the intermediate term as well. Or ETF, I should say.
PGT. Okay, I'm sorry.
No worries. No, I don't see the entry. I think you're about where you're going to get. Could move lower just because the PMO is topping, but I don't know that you're going to get much better here. Target. We're talking about flags, it sounded like. Maybe on the weekly chart we have a flag. I'm not seeing it so much here. So on the weekly chart, if we were talking about flags, is it a bear flag? Is it a bull flag? I see a bull flag-ish look. The problem is the flag is rising, and those formations don't generally work out as far as a flag. If I were looking at this, I wouldn't be looking at it as a flag. I just would look at it as a nice strong rally. We've got some follow through, but then we hit this area of resistance. Got the breakout, started to consolidate above resistance. I'm not looking at this as a formation, a flag formation, but I think the target looks pretty good here in the intermediate terms based on the weekly chart. But I do see that StockCharts technical rank taking a dive. So you probably want to keep this in the shorter term if you were looking at that. I didn't go to the daily chart to talk about it much. Topping PMO, stochastics dropped below 80. I see some problems here for target. Looks like we're going to get a pullback toward that 200-day EMA. It needs to pull back. It's overbought. I don't know that I'd be doing an entry here because the PMO is looking kind of toppy.
Okay, we have a question about our schedule again. It won't hurt to repeat it.
Yes.
Were you off last week? Erin was traveling, so we don't do the show when she's traveling. And how is your schedule for the next few weeks? We will be off until January 8th.
Yes.
And we probably need to be more proactive in terms of notifying people on the list when we will be here or when we're not going to be here.
Yes, agreed. So we will not be here the next 2 weeks. If you are watching this on YouTube and you do want to join us live, just go down into the description and you will see the link to register to be here live at noon Eastern when we do the trading room. But yes, I'm going to have to stop this right now because we're at 10.
Nope.
Although I did have that break in the middle that we're going to.
Right. I figured 4 more minutes we could do.
Yeah, let's do that. Let me share again. But you can join us live just by signing up, and then you will get notification before we do the trading room to be here in the Zoom room when it starts. All right, next.
XOP.
All right. Well, I like crude right now. I like this area of the market. We looked at this earlier. I like the breakout. We do have a filled black candlestick currently going on, and typically you're going to see a decline the next day after a filled black candle, but you can see it didn't work out there. Right here, we ended up with a up day, so I wouldn't be putting too much emphasis on that. We have a 5-day EMA crossing above the 20-day EMA, PMO buy signal. I think this looks like a really good ETF moving forward, mainly because I like what's happening with crude oil. And the weekly chart looks pretty solid here on a reversal stock, if you will. We are still seeing that PMO in decline, but I like the scooter popping up here. The RSI is trying to get back above 50. You're getting that breakout right now above that declining trend. I think this is a ETF that's on the mend.
Okay, ETSY.
Let's see. Let's see. PMO is surging above the signal line. It is now trading above the 200-day EMA. It's on a nice solid rally. It's not very overbought based on the RSI, having a terrific day. The stochastics are staying in positive territory. It's even outperforming the group a little bit here and the S&P. So I like the look of the daily chart. The weekly chart, kind of a cup-shaped bottom here, which is good. PMO on the buy signal, scooter rising. I like the look of Etsy right now, and is it in retail? Special consumer services, but it is kind of retail-ish for the holidays. I think that it's getting some pretty good movement in the retail area, and I would say this is kind of in that same vein. So I like it.
Okay, there's a question. Do we get all these chart settings as a subscriber? I'm not sure how to answer that.
You can get my chart settings that you're seeing right now. The weekly chart, I can get you that. I can get you our defaults. You don't need to be a member to get those. I'm nice. I give those away for free. All you need to do is send a message to support@decisionpoint.com and tell me which chart styles you'd like. I can give you my daily, my ETF, my 5-minute candle, and my weekly chart for sure.
Okay, we probably ought to wrap it up at this point.
I think so. So we will not be here until January 8th. We enjoy doing the trading room and we will miss you, but we hope that all of you have a very safe and wonderful holiday. And I think that will cover it for us. I will wish you good luck and good trading.